all know this. It's too many loopholes. It's too many get out of. It's just too much. Honestly, it's too much. They done had the same justice system for years and years and years. So they need to change a lot.
Yeah, it's manipulated by those with the most money and power.
Seriously, it's not benefiting us. Honestly, I wouldn't say when I say us, I say the lower class, the middle class. It seems like the rich gets way more than others, and we all know that. It's just that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Right. Well, we're gonna bring Dr. Lil in, who's going to give us more of the backstory and the drama and what's happened over the years. Huge thank you for coming on and sharing this with us.
Yep, yep.
Thank you guys so much. I didn't realize we were already on live. You guys y'all tough. When I came on and said, let me do my background, I didn't realize the live was on.
Yeah.
But at any rate, yeah, you guys don't mess around. I'm glad to have finally got a chance to see you guys again and talk with you. And as I were saying before, there's a lot of things that's been happening, obviously over the years. And I think for me in this particular season, I've had some triggers. And what I think a lot me and Rymir we went through a lot, that some of it was suppressed. We didn't talk about it, or we dealt with it through the system, but we didn't really take time to realize what was going on. Now that we see what's going on in this particular litigation, if you will, with Mr. Carter and the 13-year-old Mr. Busby, and seeing how they're treating him and seeing some of the things that's going on, I'm having an aha moment. But I'm also having triggers because some of that stuff can be depressing. It can make you, if you're not careful, you'll go into a place that you shouldn't go. So some of the instances we went through, as you guys might have seen already, we had like the incidents with they visited our home 4 a.m. in the morning. And this was around filing time, filing things for the case, just doing what a normal person would do with this case, not realizing that behind the scenes, they knew what was deeper, meaning the party and the attorneys. Now, I also believe the state of New Jersey knew something because we were crying out to them for help. Going to the AG's, Attorney General's office, said, can you help us? And this went on and that went on. I mean, letter after letter after letter, and then naming people. And then nobody would do anything. But to go back to some of the incidents, the 4 a.m. incident was a little crazy when someone wanted to, I guess, talk to us. But they came 4 o'clock in the morning. They turned their lights off on their headlights of the car. And they drove from two homes away from us to our house. And I heard a little creeping through the window from the gravel on the driveway, but wasn't sure. Nonetheless, lo and behold, somebody rung the bell. Rymir was home, thank God. And Rymir is a vampire. He stays up pretty much all night. So he was up with his brother around that time. And I'm like a half sleeper. So I heard something, but not quite sure. But make a long story short, the person knocked on the door. And that night, by that time, we had turned the light out, or the door light or the porch light. Nonetheless, the next morning, when we saw those tracks on the grass, my neighbor came to me. He's like, what's going on? Now, he had sod. And that was the reason why we were able to see it. And then I kind of know what car it was, because that car had been to our home before. It was a Soul, a Kia Soul. And that's why those tracks to where they were. Nonetheless, we had to file a police report, do all that kind of stuff. And we put together the fact that it was related to the case, unfortunately. But then, sometime after that, I'm in the house by myself. And this might have been a year or two later. And this was around the time that Mr. Carter's wife, so it was rumored, was saying things about Rymir, Beyonce. She was saying, go away, little boy, go away, little boy. Now, stop me if you have any questions. Nonetheless, there was a little situation going on. They went on this cruise and had this song about All About Us. And he made a lip in her song and said, for the 99th time, the kid ain't mine, something like that, right? Around that time, it was like in the kind of spring into the fall. Not spring, but the ending to the summer into the fall. So the timing was starting to change. 2 men came to my home. At this time, I didn't have a gate in the back of the house. They came to the home. I'm in the office working by myself home. They come to the back of the house. They walk past the front door to the back of the house. And I heard one of the guys say, he was telling them about the house apparently, but he said what he said in terms of, can you get in there? And the guy said, it's going to be hard to get in there. And I listened. I was like, what? I'm thinking to myself, am I hearing something? Nonetheless, make a long story short, sure enough, someone came to my home, brought another person, and their conversation was about how they were going to get into the house. Because he was like, just like last time? He said, just like last time. He said, but it's going to be hard to get in there.
Yeah, we was thinking it probably was because we have all the files, and I don't know if the files had something to do, but I guess that's when you move the files to a different.
Yeah, the files was another story. So they did want the hands on the files. We got the files out the house. Mm-hmm. But that was crazy for me. But what I'm saying to you now, reported to police, all is reported, right? All this stuff that happened to us, from other things that happened on the property, following us, all kinds of stuff. For me, it's starting to come up now. So I'm trying to deal with it and process this while all this crazy stuff is going on out there in the system. So this is nothing to be laughed about or joked about, and we sure enough ain't making it up. But unfortunately for our situation, because of Wanda being underage, did not help the situation. And the state of New Jersey, as well as Pennsylvania, should have did something in the best interest of the mother, because she was underage, and the child, which would be Rymir. But instead, they chose to go around the system. And here we were naive, just trying to think that the system was going to work, but not realizing that people were being paid off. But I'm going to stop there if you got any questions. I don't like to go on and on and on unless I, you know what I'm
saying? We love people that just go on and on and on.
Okay.
And you mentioned there was a file story. What's the file story?
The file story was somebody had tipped us off. I can't remember exactly who, because remember, we're now engrafted, so to speak, in the legal community and this whole world of whatever you want to call it, court systems, judicial, etc. Someone, I don't know whether it was from the court or an attorney, tipped us off that they were interested in our files. I'm guessing it was the part of the defendant's attorneys, because this is a paper trail. This case is all about files. So thankfully for us, all the files have been scanned, and there are duplications in 3 or 4 places. But that was one of the things that we did regarding having the files in the house. We were told to get the files out the house and don't make them local. That's what they told us. We also were supposed to have had an FBI agent come to the home, because this was cross the state lines, because circumstances with this case started in Pennsylvania. The fraud started really there. And they started doing some things there with the defense attorney. And then the defense attorney there, his wife, came to New Jersey. And that's how they tried to keep that going. And their whole thing was to tie us up. But in the meantime, Mr. Carter had already had the DNA of Rymir prior to all the drama. He got the DNA in 2011. So in 2011, he had it. In 2012 is when all these crazy things started happening, and the rest is history. But we understand it to be true now that we are a part of a propaganda. They were part of a system and a circumstance that we have been, I guess, chosen, if you will, to be a part of. And now it's up to us to do the right thing, because there were opportunities for me. They wanted me to take money and leave. Judges offered me money and said, look, we'll give you your money back that you lost from the very beginning. But when you get this money, we don't ever want to see Rymir and Wanda again. Do you understand? I said, no, I'm not going to deal with that, because I can't make them do something they don't want to do. And I'm still due money. So this is all started out, as you know, in 2012 for us regarding some fraud stuff. And from that point, then all the other things follow. And because of that point, I was due money, because we believed that we were defrauded in terms of the mishandling of the minimum contacts that their client had for the state of New Jersey. And in that regard, that turned into damages for me. So I was owed money, just a small amount of damages from attorney fees. But instead of going with that narrative, they wanted to flip the script and make it say, no, we don't owe you money, you owe us money. And that's when all this drama and craziness began. And manufacturing motions, and dragging us in the court. And I mean, it was a circus.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking, what in the world is going on here? So they had what became like a kid in a candy store, meaning the attorneys. And it just turned into a fiasco. And the judges, some of them participated because they were benefiting financially. Because one of the same judge, he asked me for money. He said, when are you going to pay me? I said, excuse me? And this is on record. When are you going to pay me? So we've been through a lot of disgraceful, crazy things. So right now, when we look at what's going on, we're not totally surprised. Yeah. Now it's starting to make sense. You know, it's starting to make sense why this happened the way it was. So I told Rymir, this is an emotional thing. This is a judicial thing. It's a system thing. And somehow, as we take one day at a time and do what we've been called to do, is do what's right, that somehow God will use this situation and other situations to unfold a plan for a bigger picture. Because we knew when this was happening early on, this was bigger than us. Because I said, this is crazy. It don't take all this for baby daddy. Something else is going on. But I had a sense enough to know that we had to ride it out. Not realize it would be a 10-year ride. And then now we're looking at what we're looking at in terms of seeing other things out there with other people and their concerns with the kind of similar situations, but not exact. The system has to be changed.
So you're saying then that Jay-Z got Rymir's DNA, so Jay-Z would have tested that privately, and he knows.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because he had it in 2011, and God spoke to us in the very beginning and told us to handle the situation with love. And we did. We contacted his office before these attorneys got involved, the in-house attorneys. They were very forthcoming. They were very cooperative. They wanted to do what's in the best interest of Rymir, including Jay-Z. But somehow he left his heart and started thinking with his head. Now, there could have been some other circumstances. He had just gotten married. Who knows where it lied? But there, at one point, there was a good conversation. They wanted Rymir. They were thinking about putting Rymir on their label. I told him I couldn't do that because by this time
they talked to us, but we don't know who fully. Like honestly, we don't. After that year, they never, it was nice after that. I wouldn't say nice, but we never got no, everything was just in the courts after that.
Right. Once the attorneys got a hold of it, they didn't really. These weren't attorneys that really loved Jay-Z or knew him. These were low-end attorneys that they were hired to go take care of this. Because you have a family court matter, but it was a real estate lawyer doing family law. And then the lady, Lisa Fisher Hart, she was in family. Her husband sent her to New Jersey. Both of them were doing hanky-panky. So, but these were not attorney. They had 1.2 people in their firm. That's what I'm getting at. So it wasn't really high end, and they were just trying to do whatever they thought they could do to capitalize on making money. And now you see they're a part of a bigger picture of what they did. But they were supposed to follow the law. And that's the problem we have. You follow the law and you don't run into issues and problems like this. And when you don't, look at what happens. We're standing on the law because we believe the law will prevail. The law will see us through.
And honestly, like I said before, if the judges and all, everyone who looked at the case, if they thought it was anything crazy about it or thought we was just, making this up, if this case wouldn't have no merit, they'll try to dismiss it with prejudice. And they still letting us come back and fight each year. So that just tell you a message.
So what kind of a toll has this taken on you guys' resources?
For sure.
Yeah, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And also emotional. I've had triggers.
Emotional tolls.
I've had emotional triggers since I saw that young lady who said she was 13 years old. And of course, it didn't happen to me, but hearing her voice, hearing the story, seeing what they're doing to Busby, how they're trying not to do the right thing with the law and just want all these motions and stuff, everything but except for deal with the reality. A dog and pony show. The same kind of stuff we went through, but never trying to get it resolved. So I had a trigger emotionally because I felt like, wow, we've been through some crazy stuff. And I started thinking about how this person came to my home and how it made me feel to hear them say, can you get in there? He said, it's going to be hard. And I'm thinking, what? Am I hearing? just to deal with the emotional thing of somebody following you. Because me and Rymir was in the car one time, and I drive fast already. So I had to go 90 almost, or whatever it was, to get rid of these people. Just this whole thing of your life being interrupted, and in a way that it ain't all that, it's not that deep. And there was some opportunities for them to settle. They were going to settle with Rymir. And then the lawyers that he put on afterwards were low-end lawyer attorneys. And quite frankly, they were greedy. And they wanted to throw Rymir some crumbs and have a nice day. And they said, Coley, me, I didn't need nothing because I already had 2 houses. That's what they said. So at the end of the day, this is what you're dealing with. If we would have been dealing with somebody like a Gloria Allred, we might not be having this conversation, because there's different levels of attorneys that do different types of work. Some of them are trashy. They just don't have the, they have made experience, but they don't really have some other characteristics that are needed to settle a matter in decency and in order as the law requires. But at the end of the day, yeah, the emotional thing for me in this last few months has been triggering. Mm-hmm. And I haven't talked to too many people about it. I've been talking to my pastor about it off and on. And then when things started happening, and then I see all this stuff, that was the reason why I responded to Mr. Carter in this message I sent on behalf of my goddaughter, Wanda, Rymir's mother, because we love the ground she walked on. This is a good person.